chosen one. Before Friday arrives, heaven is asking for your voice. There's a prayer that must leave your lips before the sun sets on the sixth day. It's not long, it's not complicated, but it carries the vibration of destiny itself, the kind that shifts timelines, disarms darkness, and calls angels into formation. You've felt it, haven't you? That stirring in your spirit, that sense that something is approaching something sacred and unseen. The air feels charged, like heaven has leaned closer, listening. This is no ordinary week. The energy moving through your life right now isn't random, it's orchestration. God has placed your name in the pattern of divine timing. You've walked through storms that others couldn't survive, and you're standing now, not by chance but by covenant. Before this week ends, the heavens are aligning to fulfill a promise that's been waiting for you since before you were born. But the key to unlocking it isn't in effort or striving, it's in speaking. A single prayer. A few sacred words that act as a signature of faith. When you speak them with belief, the spiritual realm takes notice. The gates that have been heavy on your heart begin to shift. The old doors you thought were sealed by circumstance will creak open under divine pressure. This is not superstition, it's scripture in motion. The principle of faith becoming sound, the power of word becoming manifestation. But here's the mystery. Not everyone will feel this call. Only those marked for the higher path, the ones heaven calls chosen, will sense the urgency beneath this message. You are one of them. And if you're hearing this now, it's because you were meant to. You've been sensing a tension in the spirit lately, flashes of déjà vu, sudden chills in still rooms, the sound of your name echoing in your thoughts. These are not coincidences. They are signals heaven testing your readiness to respond. Because before the blessing can descend, the prayer must ascend. This isn't about asking for things, it's about alignment, about opening your heart so that heaven recognizes your frequency again. You don't have to shout, you just have to mean it. So listen closely. In the next moments, we'll uncover why this short prayer must be spoken before Friday, what it awakens in the unseen, and how it positions you for divine reversal. Heaven is listening. And this time, it's your voice it's waiting for. Because what's happening right now isn't random alignment, it's orchestration. Every delay, every detour, every unanswered prayer was heaven rearranging the stage for this exact hour. What feels like coincidence is actually divine architecture. You didn't stumble into this moment, you were summoned into it. The unseen hand that pulled you through every valley is now revealing its intention. There's a sacred reason you're being prompted to pray before Friday. Not out of fear, but out of timing. Heaven's calendar is precise. There are windows when the veil thins, when prayers don't just rise but resonate. This is one of those windows. God is calling you into his rhythm, into his sequence of release. What you say this week will echo through the corridors of the Spirit for months to come. Maybe you've felt it, that strange tension between endings and beginnings. The silence before breakthrough. The restlessness that doesn't come from anxiety but anticipation. That's how heaven feels before it moves. The air tightens with promise. The invisible realm prepares for activation. You're not waiting on God as much as heaven has been waiting on you to speak, to believe, to align. You see, the voice of the believer is the gatekeeper of heaven's will on earth. Words are not sound, they are permission. Every yes you whisper gives heaven a landing place. Every amen you declare signs the contract of faith. The prayer you will speak before Friday is not about begging for a miracle, it's about sealing one. And though you might not hear thunder, angels will. Though you might not see light, heaven will. Your obedience in this small act will open a ripple across unseen dimensions. Because obedience is the highest form of worship, not the grand gesture, but the quiet response to a whisper. You've been through seasons where you asked if God still heard you. You wondered if the silence meant distance. But silence isn't absence, it's preparation. The teacher always steps back during the test. And this moment right now is that still space before the answer key is revealed. The prayer coming through you will not be a formula, it will be a signal, a vibration of surrender that tells the universe, I'm ready for alignment. You'll feel it not in your mouth but in your chest, like light pulsing through bone. And as you speak, the old frequencies, fear, doubt, confusion will begin to dissolve, making room for the divine transmission already on its way. This is the kind of moment that prophets spoke about when the mouth of the faithful would call down the reality of heaven into the atmosphere of earth. You're about to step into that truth. So as the sun moves toward Friday, Stay awake. Watch how the air shifts around you. Notice how even your thoughts feel guided, how numbers, songs, and coincidences begin to synchronize. That's heaven's handwriting across your timeline. And soon, the message written in spirit will become visible in form. Something ancient is unfolding behind the curtain of this week, a movement that has been gestating in silence, waiting for divine permission to emerge. Heaven has marked this season as a turning point, and your prayer is the signal that releases the shift. Before Friday, the line between what was and what will be grows thin. You will feel it like a hum beneath the ordinary, time slowing, colors brightening, dreams intensifying. The unseen world is not distant anymore. It's pressing close, brushing against your reality like a soft wind before the storm. The prophecy speaks of reversal, of long battles ending suddenly, of what was hidden being brought into the open, of hearts once heavy with delay being flooded with divine movement. What you thought was denial was really incubation. God was not saying no, he was whispering, not yet, but yet is about to arrive. The heavens are shifting the balance of power in your favor. You may not have noticed, but in the last few days, the energy around you has begun to reorganize. People from your past are remembering you. Opportunities that were buried are resurfacing. The divine current is pulling you toward the exact places where purpose awaits fulfillment. And this prayer, the one you will speak before Friday, is what locks your frequency into that current. The language of this prophecy isn't written in stars or ancient scrolls, it's written in you. Every trial carved symbols into your spirit, and now those symbols are aligning into meaning. The hardships you endured weren't random, they were prophecies in disguise. Each heartbreak taught you the sound of surrender. Each betrayal refined your discernment. Every closed door trained your patience until your spirit matched heaven's vibration. Now, the alignment has arrived. The spiritual gates that once resisted you are responding. Angels have been assigned specifically to your timeline. They move quietly but with precision, gathering the fragments of your destiny that were scattered by chaos. By Friday, a divine transaction will be complete, not because you force it, but because your prayer signals to heaven that you are ready. Picture this: light descending through layers of cloud, filtering through dimensions, carrying the answers you once begged for. They are already en route. The divine ledger has recorded your faithfulness. The moments you cried in silence, the times you kept walking when your spirit was tired, those were not forgotten. Heaven keeps records of endurance, and yours has reached the threshold of manifestation. But the prophecy carries a warning too. When divine acceleration begins, not everyone around you will celebrate. Some will sense the shift and recoil, because light exposes what pretends to be loyal. You may notice certain relationships fading or revealing their true colors. Don't chase what heaven is releasing. Some connections were assignments, not anchors. Their purpose is complete, and in their absence, something higher will enter peace without explanation, provision without striving, guidance without confusion. You will recognize this new frequency by how your body relaxes when you pray, how clarity replaces panic, how your nights become still again. This is not just emotional relief, it's evidence of prophetic completion. Before Friday, heaven is listening for your agreement. The spiritual world cannot impose what you do not permit. That is why the prayer must be spoken, not thought, not wished, but spoken. Words are vibrations that cut through dimensions. When you pray aloud, you reintroduce your authority into the atmosphere. The same voice that cried in wilderness now becomes the trumpet of restoration. So listen closely. When you speak, speak as one who has survived the wilderness. Speak as one who knows that silence was never abandonment, but preparation. Speak as one who understands that this is the week everything hidden begins to turn in your favor. You may not see the full picture yet, but you can feel the pattern forming. The timing, the restlessness, the divine reminders, they all point to one conclusion. Heaven is ready to release what has been sealed. The prophecy is not about faraway times. It's about now. This week is holy ground. Your next breath is sacred air. And when you finally release that prayer before Friday comes, something in the invisible will shatter chains of delay, illusions of defeat, veils of confusion. In their place will rise the unmistakable light of divine fulfillment. The prophecy has been spoken, and its echo has found you. Every prophecy carries two layers, the event itself and the spiritual code behind it. To see only the event is to witness a miracle without understanding the maker. But to see the meaning within it, that's revelation. What's happening in your life right now is not just the arrival of blessing, it's the activation of divine mathematics. Heaven is showing you that faith isn't luck, it's law. Each delay, each divine silence, was a form of instruction written in time. You were being taught to see without sight, to believe without proof, to stand still while everything inside screamed to move. That was the curriculum of the called. It taught you how to recognize the difference between your will and God's will. And now, after enduring the tension between what you wanted and what heaven ordained, you've entered a frequency where obedience becomes your weapon. The prayer you're called to speak before Friday is not a superstition. It's a covenant renewal. It's heaven's way of saying, I still remember the promise I made to you, and I'm asking you to remember it too. Every word you release carries the energy of remembrance. The moment your voice vibrates with surrender, the atmosphere aligns with purpose. You see, in the spiritual world, obedience doesn't earn blessing, it reveals readiness. The blessing was always there, hovering like morning dew over your destiny. But until your spirit vibrates at the right frequency, that dew cannot fall. The prayer is that vibration. It's not the words that hold the power, it's the sincerity behind them. That's why you've been feeling the pull toward stillness. You've been guided to withdraw, to rest, to stop explaining yourself. That's not regression, that's calibration. Before God reveals the next chapter, He lowers the volume of the world so you can hear your own spirit again. Because divine timing is not about clocks or calendars, it's about alignment. The moment your heart and heaven's rhythm match, miracles rush in like a tide that cannot be held back. And right now, that tide is forming. In the quiet hours, you might sense a heaviness in your chest, not sadness, but weight. That's the gravity of destiny. Heaven's nearness can feel intense because it stretches you to contain more light. Old fears rise, not to defeat you, but to prove they no longer rule you. The spiritual meaning of this week's prophecy is transformation under pressure. You are being refined into a vessel that can carry greater power without breaking. Think of gold. It's purified not by comfort, but by fire. Yet the fire isn't there to destroy, it's there to reveal. The impurities rise only so they can be removed. Likewise, this season isn't punishment, it's purification. You are not being reduced, you are being clarified. Heaven wants to trust you with influence, with favor, with authority, but not until your motives reflect light, not ego. And so, before Friday, when you pray, you're not just asking, you're participating. You're agreeing to be transformed while you're being blessed. You're saying, God, don't just give it to me, make me ready to hold it. That's the difference between those who receive and those who steward. The depth of this prophecy goes further still. Your voice carries resonance beyond the physical. When you speak, heaven hears tone, not vocabulary. Angels respond to faith, not eloquence. The moment your heart and voice align, your prayer becomes a tuning fork that restores harmony in the unseen. This is why some days have felt heavier, more symbolic. Time loops, déjà vu, the same numbers repeating those are synchronization markers. They remind you that heaven's orchestration is near completion. The discomfort is not random. It's the tension of two realities merging, the promise and its fulfillment. God has been preparing you to live as proof that faith changes physics. That prayer is the intersection point where spiritual belief crosses into material evidence. You are standing in the doorway between prophecy and manifestation. One side still looks like waiting, but the other side already smells like breakthrough. When you speak this prayer, it's not a command to heaven, it's a collaboration. You will feel the shift, not as noise, but as peace. It will feel like the moment after a storm when everything smells clean again, when even the air seems lighter. That's the frequency of fulfillment. And when that peace settles over you, understand what it means. The spiritual contract has been renewed. The meaning behind this prophecy is simple, but eternal heaven moves through hearts that remember who they are. And when your voice declares that remembrance, reality bends to accommodate it. This week is not about asking for miracles. It's about becoming one. You'll know the prayer has reached heaven not by thunder in the sky, but by the shift in your atmosphere. Signs will begin to appear subtle at first, but unmistakable once you learn to recognize them. They won't come to impress you. They'll come to confirm alignment. Because heaven never sends proof to the proud, only reassurance to the faithful. One of the first signs will be peace without explanation. You'll wake up one morning and realize that the weight you've been carrying feels lighter, not because your circumstances changed, but because your spirit finally exhaled. It will feel as though the air itself agrees with your faith. That peace is not random. It's divine acknowledgement, the whisper of God saying, "I heard you." Then comes the sign of sacred repetition. Certain numbers will appear wherever you go, on clocks, receipts, screens. They are not coincidences. They're coordinates. Heaven uses numbers to speak order into chaos, to remind you that divine timing is unfolding with precision. When you see them, don't rush to interpret, just breathe and say, "I'm listening." Another confirmation will appear through dreams that remember you. You'll wake with phrases echoing in your heart, faces from the past resurfacing with new meaning. Those aren't nostalgia, they're messages, fragments of old chapters being rewritten from heaven's perspective. Pay attention, but don't analyze. The message is not in the symbols, it's in the peace they bring. Then there's the disruption of patterns. Things that once drained, you will suddenly lose power. Conversations that once mattered will dissolve without effort. You may even feel misunderstood or strangely invisible for a while, not as punishment, but as protection. Heaven hides its chosen during transition, so interference cannot interfere. This invisibility is sacred camouflage. Let it be. One of the most beautiful signs will come through unprovoked kindness. Someone will speak a word you needed without knowing why. A stranger's timing will match your prayer. Doors that were rusted shut will swing open with ease. These are not accidents. They're confirmations, glimpses of divine choreography. Each act of grace will carry the same message. You're on time. Lastly, expect silence that feels holy. There will be moments when everything goes, still no sign, no word, just the hush of the unseen. Don't mistake it for emptiness. That quiet is the sound of heaven at work. Creation began in silence before it spoke, "Let there be light." And just like that first dawn, something in your life is being spoken into being, even when you cannot hear it. So if this week feels strange, if the air tingles, if the clock seems to whisper, if your heart feels suspended between two worlds, understand, you're not imagining it. These are confirmations that your prayer has reached its mark. The veil has thinned, and the unseen is answering back. Hold your peace. Trust the timing. You don't need to chase signs anymore, you've become one. Yet even in the middle of confirmation, the path won't be without resistance. Whenever heaven releases a promise, the shadows test its weight. Don't mistake turbulence for rejection, it's validation that you're crossing thresholds. The closer you move toward fulfillment, the louder opposition tries to sound. There will be moments this week when the old voices return, doubt whispering, fear replaying its favorite scenes, memories of failure resurfacing. These aren't regressions. They're tests of discernment. The enemy doesn't attack the unimportant. He attacks what heaven is about to use. When you feel that sudden wave of exhaustion or confusion, remember this truth. Pressure often signals proximity. You're closer than you think. Sometimes, the challenge won't come through others, but through stillness itself. You'll want to act, fix, prove, but heaven will whisper, "Be still." Waiting feels like weakness until you realize it's the stance of those who trust divine timing. Stillness is spiritual warfare disguised as surrender. When everything in you wants to run, stay. When nothing makes sense, breathe. The greatest battles are won by those who choose not to react. Another hidden challenge will appear in the form of distraction disguised as opportunity. You might receive sudden invitations, new connections, unexpected offers. Not all open doors lead to destiny, some lead to delay. The enemy's most sophisticated trap is urgency without peace. If something demands you to move before you pray, it's not from God. The blessing that is yours will never need you to betray your peace to receive it. You may also feel an emotional heaviness without clear reason. That's because you're shedding frequencies, energies attached to old identities, conversations, or environment. When light expands, it pushes out what cannot stay. Don't fight the release. Let what's leaving go quietly. It's not loss. It's cleansing. The ache you feel is the sound of your soul making room for more of God. And yes, you might notice people around you reacting differently. Some may grow distant. Others may question your calm. Don't defend your transformation. Those who once needed your pain to feel powerful won't understand your peace. Their discomfort is proof that your vibration has changed. Love them. Bless them. But don't shrink back into what heaven has already called you out of. The challenge beneath all these tests is faith under silence. There will be a day or two when the signs pause, when heaven goes quiet again. That is not abandonment. That is God watching to see if you will walk by faith, not confirmation. The true test isn't whether you can believe when you feel it, it's whether you can believe when you don't. So when those moments arrive, speak softly to your spirit. This silence is sacred. I'm being refined, not forgotten. And hold your ground. Because endurance is what separates the merely called from the truly chosen. You've passed through too much to collapse now. The fire that frightened you yesterday is the same fire polishing your crown today. Endure the pressure. It's proof of promotion. Now that you understand the signs and the hidden tests, it's time to act not in haste, but in holy precision. Heaven has given you a narrow window of instruction between now and Friday. Obedience in this space is not optional. It's catalytic. What you do in these few days determines what unfolds in the next season. These instructions are not laws meant to burden you, but keys designed to unlock you. Follow them with reverence and simplicity. First, choose silence over noise. Before you speak your prayer, take one day, even a few sacred hours, to turn off every external voice. Music, conversation, news, distraction. Let your soul settle into stillness. Heaven speaks most clearly when the mind is uncluttered. This quiet will feel unnatural at first, because the world has trained you to equate movement with meaning. But silence isn't emptiness. It's preparation. Stillness is where the divine blueprint becomes visible. Second, cleanse your atmosphere. Physical and spiritual clutter creates static between you and divine flow. Clean your space as a form of prayer, not just to tidy, but to consecrate. Light a candle, open a window, speak peace into your home. As you do, imagine every corner filling with light. Say softly, "Only what carries divine alignment may remain." You'll feel the shift. The air will become lighter, the atmosphere calmer. The unseen listens when you speak order. Third, write your prayer before you say it. Let it come through your hand before it passes through your lips. The act of writing grounds the spiritual into the physical. Begin simply, "Father, align me with your will." Then let your heart continue the rest. Don't worry about grammar or perfection. Heaven reads sincerity, not syntax. When you've written it, place your hand over the page and breathe slowly. That's the sound of agreement forming between heaven and earth. Fourth, speak it aloud before Friday. Choose a quiet hour, dawn or dusk, when light meets shadow. Stand or kneel, however your body feels reverent. Read your prayer slowly. Let every word linger long enough for your spirit to feel it. Don't rush. Pause where tears rise. They are confirmations, not interruptions. You'll sense when the atmosphere thickens, when time feels suspended. That's how you know the exchange has begun. Fifth, seal it with gratitude. After the final word, whisper, "Thank you." Say it not as courtesy, but as prophecy, because gratitude is the language of completion. It tells heaven you already believe the answer is done. And belief is what draws manifestation across dimensions. Sixth, rest. After you've prayed, resist the urge to monitor results. Faith doesn't check for evidence, it creates it. Resting is not inaction, it's agreement. When you rest after obedience, you signal to heaven that you trust its process. Go about your days softly, consciously, without striving. The unseen will continue the work while you stay in peace. Seventh, protect your focus. Not everyone will understand what you're doing. Don't broadcast your sacred act. Some things lose power when exposed to unready ears. Keep your prayer between you and God until it bears fruit. When the manifestation appears, you won't need to announce it, it will announce you. Eighth, forgive. Forgiveness is not weakness, it's spiritual hygiene. Any resentment you carry vibrates as interference. Before Friday, release whoever still lingers painfully in your heart. Say aloud, "I release them to their path, and I reclaim my peace." You'll feel a lightness immediately. That's the sound of shackles falling off your own soul. Finally, stay expectant. Not anxious, not demanding, expectant. Expectation is faith's posture. Wake each day believing something unseen is aligning in your favor. Speak it often. "I'm in divine timing." The more you affirm alignment, the more your energy harmonizes with heaven's flow. These instructions may seem simple, but spiritual law often hides in simplicity. God doesn't test your intelligence, he tests your obedience. The miracle is never in the complexity of the act, it's in the purity of the response. By Friday, you'll sense completion, not necessarily an external event, but an inner knowing that something has been sealed. That peace is your confirmation. That stillness is heaven's amen. Follow these steps with humility, and the unseen will respond with precision. Your obedience this week is not just about blessing, it's about synchronization. You're aligning your voice with heaven's decree, your breath with divine rhythm, your being with eternal will. And once those align, nothing on earth or in spirit can oppose you. When obedience opens the gate, protection surrounds it. You will not walk into this next season alone. Heaven has already assigned guardians to your path. The same light that called you forward now wraps itself around you like armor. You may not see them, but you'll feel their presence in the moments when fear rises and suddenly softens, in the quiet sense that someone unseen is standing watch over your steps. There is no need to fear what's coming. Every storm that once terrified you has now become your training ground. What used to break you now bows to you. The spiritual world recognizes authority, and you've earned yours through endurance. Angels respond to that frequency not because of perfection, but because of alignment. When you stand in truth, you radiate a light that darkness cannot imitate. That's why the attacks have been subtle lately, because they can't touch you directly anymore. They can only try to distract your focus. You might still feel the brush of resistance, strange dreams, moments of fatigue, passing anxiety. Don't magnify them. They are echoes of a defeated energy trying to find relevance. Keep your eyes forward. When light expands, shadows scatter, but they make noise as they leave. Silence is not danger. It's victory and progress. God wants you to know that His protection doesn't always appear as walls. Sometimes it shows up as absence. The opportunity that didn't call back, the friendship that faded, the sudden redirection, all of those were invisible shields. Heaven removes what can't travel with you before you notice the weight it would have added. Trust these quiet defenses. They are not rejection, they are rescue. And when fear tries to argue, remember, protection is not about isolation, it's about illumination. When your light grows brighter, your path becomes clearer. Every choice guided by peace is an act of protection. Every no born of discernment is a gate sealed by heaven. You are surrounded, not trapped, guarded, not limited. If you feel tired, know that angels stand closer in exhaustion. When your strength fades, their presence amplifies. In the unseen, they lift burdens you can't see, rerouting harm, whispering wisdom into moments of indecision, standing between you and spiritual interference. You don't need to perform to deserve that protection. It's inheritance, not reward. So breathe. Sleep without the armor of worry. Rest knowing that while you close your eyes, heaven doesn't. The same God who wakes the dawn watches over you in the dark. You are encircled by presence, divine, patient, and undefeated. And when doubt returns, because it will speak softly but firmly, I am covered, I am seen, I am not walking alone. Those words realign the field around you. The atmosphere listens when faith speaks. This week's prayer may open new doors, but every new door comes with divine security. Heaven never promotes without protecting. You are entering a higher frequency of safety, one where fear has no vocabulary. You've survived the fire. Now you live within the flame of protection itself. When divine protection anchors your steps, transformation begins not as a single miracle, but as a gradual unveiling. You'll start to notice small shifts first. The way you breathe feels different. The things that once agitated you no longer hold weight. Conversations that used to drain you lose their grip. That's not indifference, it's ascension. Your energy has risen above what once defined you. You're walking in fulfillment, even if the world hasn't caught up yet. What's happening now is sacred reconfiguration. The prayer you spoke before Friday was never about asking. It was about activating. And activation means your old frequency can no longer sustain you. You are outgrowing versions of yourself that were necessary for survival but unfit for destiny. The anxiety, the striving, the constant need to be understood, all of it begins to dissolve in the quiet, knowing that you are already aligned. This transformation will not always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes fulfillment arrives quietly, disguised as peace. The external world might look unchanged for a moment, but inside, something irreversible has shifted. You will sense clarity returning. Decisions that once confused you will now feel obvious. What once felt blocked will unfold naturally. That's not coincidence. That's divine coherence. You are entering the rhythm of answered prayer. It doesn't sound like shouting. It hums like still water. Fulfillment doesn't rush. It arrives when your soul is ready to receive without fear of loss. You've been prepared for this. Every heartbreak, every unanswered question, every night you wondered if heaven remembered you, all of it built the foundation for this calm, unstoppable confidence you now carry. Transformation is not about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to doubt your light. God is restoring that original essence, the part of you that trusted easily, loved deeply, and believed instinctively. That restoration is the real reward. Miracles are the side effects. And you'll see them not because you chase them, but because they'll start chasing you. Opportunities will align with minimal effort. Right people, right timing, right doors. You'll feel the divine ease that only comes after long resistance. It's as if the universe finally exhales in your direction and everything begins to flow. But here's the secret most overlook. Fulfillment is not about accumulation. It's about embodiment. You don't need more to feel whole, you need to recognize that you already are. The moment you do, the external world reorganizes to reflect that inner truth. Heaven mirrors hearts that are at peace with their purpose. In this transformation, even your body may respond. You'll sleep deeper, breathe slower, and sense vibrations of warmth in your chest when you pray. That's the presence of God settling into your cells, divine energy inhabiting its creation. It's not imagination. It's incarnation. You are becoming the living answer to your own prayer. And when fulfillment finally takes form, the opportunity, the reconciliation, the breakthrough, you'll smile differently. Not with surprise, but with recognition. Because deep down, you'll know this was never luck. It was law. The promise had your name on it long before you could pronounce it. You didn't stumble into grace. You grew into it. What awaits you now is stability, not struggle. Overflow, not overthinking. Purpose without pressure. That is heaven's reward for endurance, not a temporary high, but a sustained elevation. You have crossed over from praying for signs to becoming one. Every step you take radiates completion. Every breath you release hums with answered prayer. This is transformation in motion, and the sound you hear beneath your peace is heaven whispering, "It is done." So now breathe. You've reached the end of this sacred passage, and the beginning of a brand new alignment. Heaven heard you not just once, but every time your heart spoke what your mouth couldn't. Before Friday came, the vibration of your faith had already echoed across eternity. Now the atmosphere around you is different. The unseen has rearranged itself in your favor. You may not see the full picture yet, but it's already drawn. You are walking inside a fulfilled promise. Pause and let that truth sink in. Every tear you released became water for your garden. Every silence you endured became soil for your strength. And every prayer you whispered, especially this one, has rewritten your tomorrow. The angels assigned to you are not departing. They're establishing new order. You're no longer standing at the threshold, you're standing as one. The threshold has become you. Now speak these words aloud, slowly, deliberately, as your final seal of faith. Affirmation 1. I am aligned with divine timing. I do not chase what belongs to me, it arrives in peace. Affirmation 2. I am covered by heaven's protection. Every step I take is guided, guarded, and blessed. Affirmation 3. I release all fear of delay. What is mine moves toward me now, with grace and precision. Affirmation 4. I am the evidence of answered prayer. My life is the testimony heaven has been writing. Let these sentences linger in the air. Say them often. They are not mere words, they are living decrees. Each repetition renews your covenant with the divine. Speak them in the morning before the world distracts you, and at night before you drift into peace. The universe listens to conviction more than sound. And now, receive this blessing. May the same light that guided you through the storm remain upon your path. May you walk in effortless clarity, never doubting the whisper that first called your name. May your prayer echo beyond this week, shaping the months ahead with favor that cannot be revoked. May every door meant for you open without resistance, and every burden not of God fall away quietly. May peace become your signature frequency. You are covered. You are chosen. You are seen. Before Friday, heaven was already listening. After Friday, heaven will keep responding. Your timeline has shifted, your frequency restored, your purpose reignited. Walk gently now, not as one waiting for proof, but as one who is the proof. The prayer has been spoken, the prophecy fulfilled, and your soul, finally, at peace.